Thanks for joining. This is Lucia from the Gerety Awards. I am here with some of our amazing jury members from the executive jury for LA for Gerety 2026. And we're gonna have a little chat about what they saw in the jury, what they liked about the work, and how was the experience. So maybe we do a little round of introductions. Val, would you like to start,
Sure.
our jury
Happy
president
to.
for
Hi,
LA?
everyone. I'm Val Carlson, and I'm the Global Chief Creative Officer at Critical Mass. I will turn it over to Bernice.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bernice Chow. I'm head of creative at Pet Libro. And Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Batt. I'm the founder of Barking Owl and now the managing partner, founder, co-founder of Love Song.
Great.
Great. So I know you've all had a very interesting jury session. You were evaluating some of the works and the cuts. Val, you are a jury president. Can you tell us a little bit about the jury session, how the experience was?
Sure. Yeah, the experience was amazing, and we had a lot of, kind of strong voices in the room and a lot of really thoughtful conversations as usual. I did this last year too, and I was excited to do it again this year because I think what you see is a lot of, sort of like empathetic, really thoughtful women that are thinking about the context of the work that they're looking at and going into all of the details, everything from like fine craft to how hard it would be to pull something off to like a cultural connection. And we just had an excellent time. We went through everything in detail, all the short lists, and it was great. I can talk through some of the themes if that's helpful.
Yes, of course. Please.
Yeah, I mean, the very first theme was Thailand is killing it. Some of our favorite work came out of Thailand. There was a lot of longer form work that made it through as well, and I think Bernice said this really well. It was delightful. We talked about how we sat through for 4 minutes of film and just really paid attention and laughed and had a great time. Didn't mind watching it 2 or 3 times. So that's another theme. Lots of cultural context and really calculated risks. We talked a lot about how did they get the client to approve that? Imagine all of the conversations they must have had to get this made. And there were some really odd, well-crafted stories that held our attention as well. I think it was really nice to see a lot of traditional production with great casting and really beautiful craft versus AI slop, to be really honest. I think we were delighted by that. Those were some of the themes that I had.
Yeah, one of the things that I really enjoyed was just like, being in a room with incredibly smart, talented women, but really talking through kind of just the trends in the work. I was very just surprised with, oh, I saw that work, something similar 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Just kind of the recall of the work too was really interesting. There was definitely moments where we're like, yes, we all agree that, this work was good, or we all agree this, and I think in a room, there was some like dissent voices, and actually I think that was even more interesting to be like, wait, you want to say something because we all agree. What is it that you're trying to say? Just say it. And I thought that was actually, I think that's the real magic of us being in a room together, that we can kind of pull out what people are really thinking. And I do agree. The little piece of experiential was really nice moments to kind of break up some of that film and traditional moments that we saw as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's nice too is a lot of people want to do long form, but I think what we got to see was a lot of long form that was engaging the whole time. And if it has a purpose or a flow and a really nice movement, you don't mind watching something longer. You enjoy it. Sometimes on some of them, I wished it was even a little more, like they could have done a little bit longer. So, and I have directors, so I deal with director's cuts and things being extra long all the time. But it was like really nice to kind of sit and watch these pieces. And I feel like I learned a lot about experiential too, which I didn't really know that much about, and kind of how creative and exciting that space is and how much people can do with that. Um, and then just to echo the Thailand thing, like that was some of the best funniest. Like I was laughing out loud by myself, and it was so kind of brave and wild, like the KFC stuff blew my mind. I had to watch it twice because I was like, they didn't really, is that really? Um, and it's like there is KFC stuff that is daring in other markets too. But in this sense, it was so appropriate culturally and it was so funny and it so spoke to the ways that people move and feel and the passion of their food and how kind of KFC fits in there. I just thought it was so brilliant. I wish that I actually saw that in more international shows that work because I thought it was so special and I felt like people were sleeping on it, actually, there's something this great that nobody's paying attention to. Like the filmmaking was great, the story
It
was
was.
great, the writing was great, the casting was perfect. You just kind of were like, oh my God, like where has this agency and work been all my life?
I know. And we talked about how, just as someone who's a creative director, the client is looking for the list of all of the ingredients to be in that spot. And they dropped the kernel in, they dropped all of every single little detail. And it just didn't, it felt great. It was like, okay, you did it. Perfect. Well done.
Yeah, we are big fans of well, I'm in any case a big fan of all the Thai work that we've seen this year's in Gerety, which is great. What about you, Bernice? Do you have a favorite pickup of the work that you've seen or a campaign that you would like to discuss?
I mean, I actually really enjoyed kind of there was two that kind of was around gaming. We saw one with Zilla and Warcraft, and we thought that was incredibly clever because it was such a
I
unique
love that. Sorry, I don't
uh,
mean to jump in.
no. I mean, I think, we were talking about targeting millennials, so the games felt appropriate. But also just to get people to use their interface was kind of their problem. And I think, giving Warcraft fans a way to show off. And we also saw Gamey Fries. We talked about how, yeah, we liked that it was just kind of like a what, $0 production, zero lift media, right? Like it was just something that they put on to make her world and it just kind of, was a sensation. And we just thought that was really nice as well. And kind of that integration into that gaming culture. We saw a couple of different instances in kind of the different entries, and we thought those two were quite clever.
Val, what about you?
Yeah, those were great. I have to say I it's probably I love all the Thai work. They were great. We went back and looked at Five Star Chicken, Death of a Salesman, and similar, kind of mockumentary, really long, had, this obsessive desire to get 5 stars, but like the way that they did it and how they broke down these everyday objects, it was so absurd and completely ridiculous. We all loved Oreo cows as well. And I know that's won in other awards, but I think it was just humorous at a level where it was just kind of that low level hum and really great casting, a really strong director, and it's just like you kind of need that in life right now. So we talked about that. We love that a lot. We loved Elf with Melissa McCarthy, the telenovela style, perfect casting, and I think we talked a little bit about the fact that like they were okay to go somewhere that was slightly political from an insight perspective, which was, I thought, fantastic. And they really stood out in the Super Bowl.
Great. And
We also
at what you said in the beginning about the not having a lot of AI snob and craft is something that has come up in other discussions, in other insights. So I think maybe it's something that you also. Why do you think this is? And I guess it's good news.
Kelly, do you have a comment on that?
I do actually. Funny enough. I think like I have 4 children from like 23 to 10. And one thing that they are all aware of and constantly seeking is what's real. And I think that that's something that we're all looking for, whether it's like kids or adults or whatever. And I think that we had done a piece that wasn't a part of this, but it's like speed, right? And he was like a kung fu master, right? So it's speaking to young people, and it was all shot on 16 millimeters, all this stuff, and people like young kids were commenting on the craft. and they were commenting on the writing and they were commenting about how real it was. And people feel that and they want that. They crave that. People don't want this AI stuff that they can't tell the difference of and there's no ownership. And so I think brands are really embracing that in a great way, actually. I mean, we've had a lot of clients and people kind of reach out and try to kind of go for the film and go for the extra touches that are going to give it something special instead of just like a filter over it in AI. And not that we haven't had that, but also the other thing about AI is that it's not really that great. And it um like we have had an experience where someone tried to do AI to do like a face replacement and it was horrible and it was so expensive. And I was like, what is this? We ended up going to like the old school VFX way of doing it because it just never worked. It never looked right. Everything was weird. And by the way, like to do a celebrity, it takes like 3 hours of comping to get their face. And who wants to sit through that? Not one celebrity I know. So the one that I was doing actually left. So we didn't even have everything we needed. And so it's like if the point is to make it faster and more efficient, it's not there yet. And if the point is to make it crafted and special, it's also not there yet either. And I think, we're all looking for that humanity. Like, what do we love about this award show the most? That we're all together, that everybody had dinner after, which sadly I missed, but like I had FOMO for it. It's like what I'm craving is to sit with other women and people that we have things in common with, and we can sit and discuss and get deep about it. And I mean, I do know people that use AI for therapy, but like it's not for me really.
I do have one quick thought. I agree, and I'm running into that a lot too. But the one piece that we talked about a little bit at the end was again Thailand, the Chiza KFC work, which is the brain rot meme culture, and I think to make a character like that in AI makes so much sense
Yes.
because you're playing off of the insight, you are in that culture, you're wanting to make fun of it and jump on these absurd combinations. And he was disgusting, he was eating himself, he was drippy, he was that's okay, like that's AI, that makes sense to me. So I think context matters as well.
Yeah, definitely. But I actually love that whole thing. That's actually a really hard thing to do right, is
Yeah,
to get people
great.
who do, like my son did that brain rot game, but it's like old now and people don't do it. So I think, but with like brands and stuff like that, to get the timing right and kind of the relatability right is really hard. And I do think they did that. I thought that was very well done in a lot of ways.
So it looks like craft, humor, some authenticity, some of the things that I think have come across most of the executive jury sessions that we had on the insights. Let's do a little bit prediction to wrap up. Is there anything else you would like to see in the forthcoming campaigns coming out from brands, or a theme in particular, or something that you would like to see out there?
I want to continue on this like conversation of craft and kind of leaning into deliberately human is what I'm calling it now. This idea of how can we be more deliberately human in the work we do. I'm starting to save more things that I'm seeing on social of people actually handcrafting film in different pieces, like cutting things out and gluing them together. And in the pieces we saw, we started seeing a lot of craft, and I would say I would love to just see more of that continue. Let's not lose sight of it. Like Kelly, you're saying, yeah, it's still not there yet, but even so, we can't just lead on that, on on that's our solution, right? That's our tactic versus what is the idea. Still saying true to what the idea, we talked about right timing. A lot of this had the element of right timing. So knowing that the combination of what can we kind of listen to that's happening. So, being very aware of our surroundings, and then how can we add that deliberately human craft to it, I think is really magical.
I love that. I would like to say that I'd like to see other countries look at what happened in Thailand and realize that you do have to take calculated risks in order to break through. I mean, I think in a world where everything is based on an algorithm and everyone is targeted and everyone is seeing like a generalization of what brands are, the brands that will live on will be the ones that break through. And I think it can be, it can feel risky, but I think our job is to educate clients and help them understand that it's actually not. What's risky is just going along and continuing to do like performance work at the mid funnel level and not, taking the right chance against what their brand stands for. Dare I say purpose? Because I think that KFC's purpose is to get people excited about their food. And they have a really, really goddamn strong brand that they have stuck to over the years. And they have, a mascot and they have all the things, they have all the checklists. And many brands have that checklist. They just don't activate it. So I would like to see some really strong thinking and calculated risks.
Yeah, I really love that. I love the idea of just sticking to a clear idea also and like doing the best you can with that idea. I think so much stuff ends up living in the middle, and we did see some of that stuff too, right? It just doesn't make it to the short list. And it's awful. Like it's hard to even sit through, and nobody buys it and nobody believes it. And everybody's like, "Oh, how do we talk to younger people?" And it's like these are people who have been brought up with marketing their whole life. They know every celebrity and who's sponsored by who, and they're very aware of marketing, and so they're very aware of what isn't real. And so when you try to speak to them in a condescending way or a way that feels less than, or you give them work in the middle, they're going to scroll past it. They scroll the whole time. So it's like, what my kids watch YouTube and not TV. So, like, what keeps them staying there? It's craft and it's story and it's something really interesting. And they're hungry for it like the rest of us. So, I think more elevated craft would be amazing, or even more like experiential ideas from Netflix would be great because I love those too.
Yeah, I think experiential is going to continue to be huge. I think fourth spaces are totally real. And I think the brands that figure out how to activate in real life and connect the dots across the ecosystem will be the winners 100%. I mean, it might be worth talking about that Olay case study because we were very upset as a group. And I think it was a Dove knockoff. It was for someone my age to watch women be prompted to speak a manifesto in front of a mirror was also really upsetting. And so I think brands in maybe wanting to be safe, sometimes they might think knocking off another brand's, way of going to market could be okay. It is absolutely not okay.
Well, I think too, like it wasn't done with care. It wasn't done with an authenticity. And yeah, I actually was pretty offended by it. I was like, why do you think this speaks to me at all? Like I'm exactly who you want to speak to, and it's not happening at all.
Yeah, we had a spirited discussion about that one, and everyone in the room was in agreement 100%.
Yeah. So
Thank you so
authenticity, I guess.
much for your time. I hope you had a nice time being part of the Gerety jury, and thanks for bringing your expertise and experience into the jury room. And we are almost ready to reveal the shortlist, so stay tuned and